Words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Volume 14, page 41, topic Aspects of Sadhana. Our Divine Mother says, 3 things indispensable to begin with: absolute sincerity in the whole being and all its activities, complete self-surrender without any reservation, patient work on oneself, and at the same time a steady conquering of perfect unshakable peace and equanimity. 4th Feb 1932. Our Divine Mother says our consciousness has windows that open on the infinite, but generally men keep these windows carefully shut. They have to be opened wide and allow the infinite freely to enter into us and transform us. 2 conditions are necessary for opening the windows. First, ardent aspiration. Second, progressive dissolution of the ego. The divine help is assured to those who set to work sincerely. Question: Sweet Mother, what is the best method to find the divine who is in each of us and in all things? For this our Divine Mother says, aspiration, silence, concentration in the heart region, in the solar plexus region. If need be, a prayer addressed to the divine. I belong to you, says our Divine Mother. I belong to you and I want to know you so that all I do is nothing but what you want me to do. This is the prayer addressed to the divine. Our Divine Mother says, encourage only what leads quickly to the Lord and serves His divine purpose. Next subtopic, the examiners. Our Divine Mother says, the integral yoga consists of an uninterrupted series of examinations that one has to undergo without any previous warning, thus obliging you to be constantly on the alert and attentive. These 3 groups of examiners set up these tests. They appear to have nothing to do with one another, and their methods are so different, sometimes so apparently contradictory, that it seems as if they could not possibly be leading towards the same goal. Nevertheless, they complement one another, work towards the same end, and are all indispensable to the completeness of the result. Our Divine Mother says the 3 types of examination are those set by the forces of nature, those set by spiritual and divine forces, and those set by hostile forces. These last are the most deceptive in their appearance, and to avoid being caught unaware and unprepared requires a state of constant watchfulness, sincerity, and humility. Our Divine Mother says, the most commonplace circumstances, the events of everyday life, the most apparently insignificant people and things all belong to one or other of these 3 kinds of examiners. In this vast and complex organization of tests, those events that are generally considered the most important in life are the easiest examinations to undergo, because they find you ready and on your guard. It is easier, says our Divine Mother, it is easier to stumble over the little stones in your path because they attract no attention. Our Divine Mother says, endurance and plasticity Cheerfulness and fearlessness are the qualities specially needed for the examination of physical nature. Aspiration, trust, idealism, enthusiasm, and generous self-giving for spiritual examinations. Vigilance, sincerity, and humility are the examinations from the hostile forces. And our Divine Mother says, and do not imagine that there are the one-hand people who and do not imagine that there are, on the one hand, people who undergo the examinations, and on the other, people who set them. Depending on the circumstances and the moment, we are all both examiners and examinees, and it may even happen that one is at the same time both examiner and examinee. And the benefit one derives from this depends both in quality and in quantity on the intensity of one's aspiration and the awakening of one's consciousness. Our Divine Mother says, to conclude, a final piece of advice: never set yourself up as an examiner. For while it is good to remember constantly that one may be undergoing a very important examination, it is extremely dangerous to imagine that one is responsible for setting examinations for others. That is the open door to the most ridiculous and harmful kinds of vanity. It is the supreme wisdom which decides these things and not the ignorant human will. 12th November 1957. Our Divine Mother says, each time you have to make progress, you have to undergo an examination. In ancient times, the disciples had to undergo severe tests to prove his ability for initiation. Here, we do not follow that method. Apparently, there is no test and no trial. But if you see the truth, you will find that here it is more difficult, much more difficult. There, the disciple knew that he was undergoing a period of trial, and after he had passed through some outward tests, he was taken in. But here, you have to face life, and you are watched at every moment. It is not only your outer actions that count, each and every thought and inner moments is seen, every reaction is noticed. It is not what you do in the solitude of the forest, but what you do in the thick of the battle of life that is important. Are you ready to submit yourself for such tests? Are you ready to change yourself completely? You will have to throw off your ideas, ideals, values, interests, and opinions. Everything will have to be learnt anew. If you are ready for all this, then take a plunge. Otherwise, do not try to step in. Our Divine Mother says, the whole life is a sadhana. It is a mistake to cut it into bits and pieces and say, this is sadhana and that is not. Even your eating and sleeping should be a part of sadhana. Everything can be a part of sadhana. It depends on the inner attitude, says our Divine Mother. Naturally, if one lets himself be invaded by any kind of Western atmosphere, farewell to the sadhana. But even in the most materialistic milieu, if one retains one's aspiration and one's faith in the divine life, the sadhana can and should continue. 1970. These are the words of our Divine Mother.